Here we are, almost at the beginning of August, and this week's health news is that there's no news. Not what President Obama wanted. His August deadline for the health plan is kaput, and it'll be September before the Senate takes it up again, and probably the House too. It's very risky for the health plan's prospects with the 2010 campaigns coming up. Hi, I'm Mary Stock, and this is the first edition of the Health News the way you've never heard it before. Today it's all about the health plan in Congress. The biggest news by far is that the Blue Dog Democrats in the past week, you've heard that catchy name 100 times, I'm sure, have threatened to turn over control of Energy and Commerce, one of the most powerful committees in the House, to the Republicans if they don't get their way on the health plan. Now, this is no idle threat. They can do it because they control 7 votes there. Everybody there knew just what it meant when they said it. A coup, a putsch. By all reports, the Republicans don't want new health legislation. So what is it that the Blue Dogs wanted that was so important? In the end, it was a local issue that raised their ire. Many of them come from rural districts, and the doctors there get paid less by Medicare for their services than doctors in big cities do. These doctors wanted to get paid the same. Now, there would seem to be good reasons for considering that. After all, some studies have shown that the quality of care is the same in both places, so there's a question of fairness here. Why not pay the same for like services, like we do when we buy a new vacuum cleaner or, shall we say, a new car? When I looked further into this, I was reminded that doctors are part of a complex economy with all the rest of us. Each geographic area has its own price structure, which is mostly based on the cost of living. That's why doctors are paid by what price is usual and customary in their area. Just like real estate, it's location, location, location. If you're a doctor in Manhattan, an average 2-bedroom apartment is around $1,200,000. Out on the plains, the average price of a house is around, shall we say, $175,000. A price for a luxurious home would be what? $350,000? That's a far cry from $1.2 million. The costs of doing business are much higher too in big metropolises. In Manhattan, medical space will sell for $800 to $1,000 a square foot and can cost $2 million to $8 million. But out on the plains or in small towns, that medical space would cost a fraction of that, probably $100,000 to $200,000. Friday, after the Blue Dog threat, Mr. Waxman appeared visibly relieved and announced that the Medicare payments issue had been solved. Medicare will now reward value or high-quality care in addition to the usual and customary standard for payments. Looking at it that way, we can see that the doctors in rural areas will be getting a windfall from their increased Medicare payments without these huge operating costs and costs of living that the doctors in the big cities have. And who's going to be transferring that money into their bank accounts? Yeah, you guessed it, Medicare, the government. This is very interesting in light of the fact that Blue Dog Charlie Malenkon criticized Waxman for giving them a hard time when they are, as he said, just trying to get a bill that works for America. Funny how it worked for their constituencies instead. At the same time, perhaps the most famous quote of the week was being bandied about Washington. Jim DeMint, a Republican congressman, was heard at a fundraiser saying, "If we're able to stop Obama on this, it will be his Waterloo. It will break him." Reading that and the Blue Dog story, I could see just how parochial these people's interests are. For the one, it's a wrestling match to the end. To the other, It's tending to their constituents in their own little backyard. Nobody seems interested in the good of the American people as a whole. I feel that's the good of the American people as a whole is going to get sacrificed in the health plan that emerges. Something's got to be done, and I'm going to suggest something when I'm here again next Wednesday on the next edition of the Health News the way you've never heard it before. And now, since this is about health, I'm going to give you a tip about delicious food and how to get slim without ever dieting or gaining again. If you really want to lose weight or stay thin, eat bread with your meal. It has a wonderful yeasty taste. It's squishy and it's warm and delicious. You don't even need butter. This is a baguette that comes from a great bakery in New York City. It's wonderful, it's chewy, it fills you up, you never get, delicious. You never get hungry until your next meal. And so you won't be eating sweets and all those other things in between. You'll eat less food. Bon appetit, and I'll see you next Wednesday.